my name is Christina Woodworth, and I'm studying Organizational Leadership and Resource Management at Olympic College in Bremerton, Washington. This presentation is prepared for a course instructed by Professor Dr. Adams called Effective Human Relations. The requirements of this assignment were simply to tell a story about leadership. So I would like to share with you a personal story about leadership that I believe is worth hearing because it's unique in the sense that it's about my father, who has never claimed to be professional or have a profession or ever even pursued a career. However, I think that my father is the quintessential example of what leadership is. In my mind, my father's continuous vision of the future was always guided by his values, which is what also influenced his decisions. My dad is a Wisconsin dairy farmer, and daily operations on a dairy farm include milking cows twice a day, 365 days a year. He also manages 1,000 acres of farmland, but this is just a sliver of what farming or leadership is about. The community knows my dad as a seed man. He sold seeds to the area crop farmers for 18 years. Inherently gifted a semi, he started hauling his own grain to the weigh station in La Crosse, Wisconsin. This is ultimately where the paperwork was drawn up to record grain's yield and then loaded onto barges in the Mississippi River and transported to New Orleans to be sold at auction. It is important that I recognize that my father served as the chairman of the board for the Township of New Lyme in Monroe County, Wisconsin. This position demands an exceptional commitment to the organization because they're responsible for defining bylaws. He is proud to have had the privilege to call meeting to order for the members of this community doing business of this community for 30 years. My father's duty was not only as the public face. He also was a sentimental man who writes in a personal journal every day. His scripts include stories about special events and highlights conversations with people he feels are important to remember. If asked, my dad could tell you exactly what he did every day for the past 34 years. In my mind, that's one hell of a resume, or at least a pretty solid alibi. This next example happens only once a year. That's because my dad stays pretty busy on the farm, yet he still finds time to entertain holiday festivities. Just because my dad is my old man does not mean he's not a kid at heart. And to the kids in Monroe County, he is Santa Claus. Yes, I said my dad is Santa Claus. Now, I am here to tell you that my dad's Santa Claus is pretty convincing. And I'll be the first to admit to dressing up as a reindeer, including the antlers, bells, and red nose. It's just as silly as an ugly Christmas sweater party. But what I have that you don't is a picture with Santa Claus hanging on every kid in Monroe County's living room. And this will last for generations. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Kind of like my dad. While everyone is busy putting away those holiday decorations, my dad is out grooming the snowmobile trails because he's also an active part of the Monroe County Snowmobile Club and very proud of his impressive collection of 20 antique Arctic Cat snowmobiles, with some still in crates, and he has actually won some awards on them. My dad has always been an active part of his community. Growing up in a house with 8 brothers and 2 sisters, with him being number 5, it should come as no surprise that when I say that my dad was also the one that hosted my wedding reception in the seed barn. With such a large family, he turned his cornfields into parking lots, and that way we could seat 350 people, and they can watch him walk me down the aisle. He happens to be a natural wedding coordinator. Honestly, that's just nothing out of the ordinary for him. What is out of the ordinary is my dad is fearless. Once we had a bar fire, and as we all stood there horrified watching our barn engulfed in flames, I actually watched him run into the raging fire to drive our combine out seconds before the barn collapsed. Instead of doing nothing, he was so grateful for the community support that he built a new combine repair shop and then hosted an annual shop party every year for nearly 15 years. Rumor has it, if memory serves me right, we counted that last party, there was 800 attendees. Those were really the good old days. It's really because of my dad. Not only has my dad's leadership clearly shaped the person I am today, but I also admire his absolute urgency with his need to communicate. Seriously, his expressive nature is almost spiritual. And this is a measurement not of his performance, but of his passion, indicating what I already know naturally found within his heart. Anyone that knows my dad knows he is always willing to listen. He's prepared to be front and center, and this just makes sense because my dad was born to lead. I think this is because then he could lend his heart. His leadership style has certainly left an impression on me. And in my mind, this is his way of lending his heart to me so that I can treasure it, which I do. My dad and I share a genuine curiosity for learning, especially about people's dreams. Especially hearing about people's dreams. Our perspectives look for an ideal future where people are valued for who they are each and every day because we know change is inevitable. In conclusion, I intuitively imagine my dad's wisdom strengthens my vision for the future and guides my values and influences my decisions because I am a confident individual pursuing my dreams and studying leadership today. Setting up precedent behavior proves his boundaries aren't transparent, which is why my dad's leadership style serves as an example of a quintessential style of leadership. Not just because he's been successful, but because this is what makes me feel valued. A Wisconsin dairy farmer is a lifestyle, and not one that's practical if you're considering a different career path. However, if you can imagine thriving because you're surrounded by people who feel simply valued because they're enjoying each other's company and have a real sense of being mutually cared for, then you're in the right frame of mind. Ideally, this is what my dad's leadership style captures in the briefest sense anyway. I appreciate this opportunity, sharing my leadership story about my dad with you. This experience is truly what my dad and I only dared dreamed could be possible. So thank you for seeing our dreams come true.